Thank you for joining us on a brand new episode of 420 grams. मैं बम्बई में, मेरा भाई दिल्ली में. वो थोड़ी मूड लाइटिंग भी खेल रहे हैं हमारे साथ. शैडो भाई, ये बाय डिजाइन है या ये आप हो गया
Uh,
बस?
मत पूछो
हम्म.
भाई. आज आज आई हैड एल्डर मिलेनियल डे विथ हार्डवेयर.
What do you mean
मतलब
by elder millennial day?
मतलब समझने वाले समझ जाएंगे. अगर ज्यादातर हमारे जो चाहने वाले हैं वो जेन जी टाइप हैं या पोस्ट
Gen Z.
इवन
हाँ.
देन वो समझ जाएंगे. बेसिकली कह रहा हूँ बुढ़ापा छा गया है.
हाँ,
जैसे
हाँ,
बॉडी में छा गया है वैसे अपने टेक में भी छा गया है. तो
वो तो
आज
हिंदी में बोल दिया करो, समझ जाएंगे आप. आराम से ये
हाँ.
सब बातें हैं. बुढ़ापा, बस बुढ़ापा बोल दो, हम समझ जाएंगे अपने बारे में बात कर रहे हो.
क्या
भाई बट
अगर एक शब्द के लिए 10 यूज ना करें तो फायदा ही क्या
हाय
है?
हाय हाय
मैं तो
हाय, क्या बात.
मैं तो स्क्रीन
हमारी
टाइम खाने आया.
बोलने की दुनिया है हमारी.
Yeah.
But let's get to it because we have decided that we're not going to do one of those long type chats. We're talking about a specific thing that's come out of India's 4-2 loss versus Malaysia in the Merdeka Cup. अब वो मुकाबला कल था, फ्राइडे इवनिंग. बड़े जोर शोर से हमने खेला, देखा मुकाबला. पहली बात तो भाई, हाउ बैड वाज दैट पिच? लाइक रियली बैड. Did you see the amount of dust flying around? It was like as if, you know what, कि मतलब it was a barren ground. उन्होंने कहा ओए
Yeah.
मैच आ रहा है, जल्दी से उसके ऊपर हरा हरा कुछ डाल दिए. जो पीछे मेरे ऊपर ये फेक टर्फ
नहीं
है.
नहीं, ये ऐसा नहीं है. सॉफ्ट ग्राउंड था. मतलब वो
नहीं नहीं, you saw the amount was flying around
पानी पड़
भाई.
रहा. So I don't know if you watched the interview that 420 grams did with the India head coach.
ताना
It
मारा
was
है.
So the coach was saying that even the training grounds are soft grounds because that
हाँ.
maybe they have recently laid. I don't know.
हम्म.
Maybe that's a decision, but I think it's also to do with the weather. And
हम्म.
frankly, right, for me, it was a bit exciting to see this kind of a pitch. Like the second goal that India scored,
हाँ.
right? That Chanki's last little ball in, right? Or
That was a
even
good move.
Maheen's
That was a good
ball
move.
in.
Very good move. हाँ.
Good ball in, great move, no doubt, and a great ball in and from both sides. But
हाँ.
like the little bump it takes off this patch, right, where there's not perfect grass.
हम्म.
I mean, there's a kind of football that we have grown up watching and playing,
But
and
not international level ना भाई. That's what I'm
no, no,
saying. I'm surprised.
why not? I mean, the thing about this sport used to be that it was relatable to everyone, right? कि
ओहो भाई, कहाँ चले जा रहे हो आप? ओहो हो भाई.
मैं कह रहा हूँ, मैं बस कह रहा हूँ मुझे इन कंडीशंस में या अलग अलग कंडीशंस
मजा आया.
में, जैसे आजकल आप क्रिकेट कर रहे हैं, राइट? कंडीशंस प्ले
हाँ.
सच एन इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट इन
पर
दैट एंटायर.
वो अलग खेले, अलग डायनामिक्स है वहां पे. फुटबॉल
ये
का
भी
एक है.
भाई,
क्रिकेट के साथ
भाई
कभी नहीं आपका मेल होता कंडीशंस को लेकर. एक ही पिच है, एक ही बॉल है.
नहीं नहीं नहीं, हम लोग हमेशा अपने आप को, अपने स्पोर्ट को प्राइड करते हैं कि ये स्पोर्ट किसी भी सीजन में खेला जा सकता है, राइट?
हम्म.
चाहे आप आर्कटिक में खेल रहे हैं जहां बर्फ पड़ रही है, या मतलब ट्रॉपिक्स में खेल रहे हैं जहां पानी पड़ रहा है, या आप डेजर्ट में खेल रहे हैं जहां सिर्फ रेता है. कहीं भी खेल सकते हैं. So 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 the conditions, and that is what leads to part of this home advantage as such. If you have these perfectly manicured pitch, and of course, when FIFA hosts an event like the ICC is hosting a World Cup in India, then
हम्म.
it has to make sure that the conditions are standardized for everyone, right? So nobody
हम्म.
has an advantage in that sense, right?
हम्म.
But when you are the groundsman of a ground, why not play to the advantage of your home team? I mean, you see the crowd frenzy, man, crazy. It was so
क्राउड
cool to that broadcast. I mean, amazing.
नहीं, crowd was huge भाई. But so basically the one thing that really came out from this game is that
Yeah,
Malaysia decided to use the high press versus India, and they were doing it in
yeah,
a block of 3. तीन पहले आप पे प्रेस कर रहे, और उसके पीछे तीन का ब्लॉक, और फिर आपके 4 डिफेंडर्स. एंड it was in India's 1/4. If the pitch is broken into 4 parts, it was in India's first half. Then second, of course, like that, we keep on moving on. तो वहां पे प्रेस करना शुरू कर दिया इन लोगों ने. फॉर मी, मैन टू मैन, I thought this Indian team is a better team, hands down. I thought this Malaysian team looked very average, and for some reason, I thought the rankings are speaking a correct story for once. कि जी अक्सर rankings आपको कुछ और बताता है. मेरे हिसाब से ये एकदम बहुत ही एवरेज टीम लगी, बट इन्होंने एक ऐसी चीज करी भारतीय टीम पे जिसको भारतीय टीम ने कभी फेस नहीं किया है ऑन अ बिग टाइम बेसिस, और यू वुड से ऑन अ सिचुएशन लाइक दिस और अ स्टेज लाइक दिस. तो सडनली इफ यू वुड हैव सीन, let's forget the Malaysia game. Let's just only
Hmm.
talk about the game versus Kuwait. Let's talk about the game versus 11 because that's apparently where we're coming of age and this team is jumping levels and so on and so forth, and rightfully so. Okay, ठीक है. But वहां पे भी at international level, no one is pressing you that high up in the pitch. They're letting you move the ball at the back. And when you're
Yeah.
coming somewhere towards the halfway line is when they start getting at you. So in a sense, when you're reaching that halfway line, आप दो तीन passes खेल रहे हो, आप move कर रहे हो, you're being composed on the ball. मलेशिया के साथ क्या हुआ, चाहे वो निखिल पुजारी थे या आकाश मिश्रा थे, भाई साहब थोड़ा टफ डे इन दी ऑफिस हो गया, क्योंकि वहां पे उन्होंने बिल्कुल भी नहीं उनको मौका दिया, और वो दिख रहा था भाई. इन बिटवीन देयर वर पैचेस. जब भारत ने अपना गोल मारा, उस गोल के मारने के बाद देयर वाज अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ अ कंट्रोल दैट दे वर डूइंग, बट यू ऑलवेज हैड दैट फीलिंग कि अब बॉल गई, अब छिनी बॉल, अब छिनी बॉल. So you would say if in those moments that India had attacking the Malaysian goal, um, they had a success of say 20%, 25%. But credit to this team, which is why I thought India is a better team man for man. But in those 20-25%, they made their foray towards
Yeah.
that Malaysian goal. Both the goals were really good to see. Both the goals were really well moved and very
Why
well worked out goals.
all three goals?
Three goals. Agreed.
That,
Point
that,
noted, my
that
lord.
no doubt that
But
okay, everyone saw it.
भाई agreed. But my point is ये डरने वाली बात है. ये आपका एक पत्ता खोला गया आपके सामने फ्रॉम एन एवरेज टीम. ये जो चढ़ के जो खेलते हैं, बिकॉज ज्यादातर हमने अभी तक जो टीम्स खेली है वो चढ़ के नहीं खेलती है. चढ़ के जो
Why
खेलती
so?
है सडनली आपके टेक्निकल एबिलिटी आ गई सामने.
I completely get your point, and it's amazing how मतलब क्या कहते हैं हम, like हम सिंक हमारी सोच इस गेम में काफी मिलती जुलती है. uh, uh, but I think at this point we have to, if we step back a bit from this game and this tournament, right? uh, we have to look at it from the perspective of what these teams are trying to do. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with the perspective that Malaysia average. I think they were far better than what I expected to see. And
भाई compare them to
I'm
India man to man ना.
one sec. But let's okay. Maybe we can do that in a second. But I'm admitting my ignorance in that I have not seen them much or followed them much before. But it seemed like they had what they, you talked about what they're doing off the ball when they're defending,
Yes.
but when they're on the ball, it seemed a very different scenario. So anyway, we're not that bothered about Malaysia in the context of
Yeah,
this video,
not really.
right? We are concerned about what everyone
Happened
is
when you
doing
face the high press.
preparation for the Asian Cup
Hmm.
and for the upcoming, obviously, World Cup qualifiers. And in that context, I think uh, we were trying certain things which worked. Uh, the weaknesses that exist, our strongest players in many ways, as one coach has to me, are our wing players, wing backs,
Right,
but
but
they're also our
your
weakest
weakest
link.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah, but वही मैं कह
So
रहा हूँ
they
ना,
are,
there's a false pretense था वो कि they were not being put under pressure. आकाश मिश्रा moved up, मैं notice कर रहा था मैच में
it's not the
33वें
first
मिनट में
time.
मैंने देखा है उसको आगे जाते हुए.
It's not the first time. There have been times when other people, for example, Rahul Bheke has played at right back and he has been put under pressure and he has given penalties. When the player has gone past him, he has committed the kind of fouls that, like, if there were no cameras, also you would not get away with, right? So there is a sort of trend in this defensive organization, and like this team has to be built on organization. And I think
Of course.
again, so I'm plugging my own interview, but
हाँ,
it
अच्छी बात है.
highlights the magnitude of the challenge that is Indian football, and the perspective in which we have to look at these results. अगर छोटी चीजें हम अच्छा कर रहे हैं, राइट, जैसे
हम्म.
अगर आपका ऑब्जर्वेशन है कि सुनील छेत्री was not visible for many parts of the game,
वो
right?
बिकॉज स्मार्ट मूव ना, आपने प्रेस डाल दिया तो लंबा खेलो, उसको अकेला है वो वहां पे फिर.
बिल्कुल. तो वो भी स्मार्ट खेल रहे हैं, लेकिन हम भी उसको वैसे ही शायद यूज कर रहे हैं. हमारा अप्रोच टू गेट टू सुनील छेत्री, गोल तुम्हारा ना 93
नहीं
इंटरनेशनल.
भाई, मैं नहीं भाई, पर मैं वही कह रहा हूँ, जो आपका ये 3 टूर्नामेंट जो जीते हो, आपका जो जनरल बिल्डअप टू सुनील छेत्री वाज वेरी डिफरेंट. सुनील छेत्री वाज गेटिंग स्पेस टू ड्रॉप इन डीप, कनेक्ट विद
नो नो,
मिडफील्ड, मेक इट अ 5 मैन मिडफील्ड एंड वॉट. कल उन्होंने जी
बट
चढ़ा दिया पूरा का पूरा, बुम.
that scenario was completely different in that the kind of opposition you're facing is completely different. The scenario in which you're facing it is completely different. It's the coach's job and management is a completely different situation, right? On the one hand, you need to get wins to say कि हम कुछ कर रहे हैं, right? क्यों हमें एशियन गेम्स के लिए जाना चाहिए, कैसे पॉपुलैरिटी बढ़ रही है, क्या काम चल रहा है पिछले 4-5 साल में, नया फेडरेशन आया है, post pandemic recovery phase hai, ye sab, all these things factor into the scenario, right? So now you have moved into a phase when you are very deliberately looking at results in World Cup qualifying and Asian Cup, more specifically Asian Cup. And there, I mean, now the coach has stated on the record for us, to us at
व्हाट
least, we
व्हाट
said it before, that the aim, right, the goal, target is a point and a win.
फ्रॉम विच एंगल, फ्रॉम विच एंगल
No,
भाई,
no,
फ्रॉम विच
from
एंगल?
no from no
हु इज
angle,
बाइंग इट?
but from the angle of how the coaching staff or the preparatory team will approach the problem. They are not approaching it from
भाई
the perspective of winning the
आप
tournament, etc., etc.,
आप
right?
बहुत बहुत आगे जा रहे हो भाई. आई एम जस्ट सेइंग दिस एंटायर एपिसोड इज जस्ट टू ब्रिंग टू लाइट इज दैट जब आपने भारतीय टीम पे प्रेस डाला है, when
बिल्कुल.
suddenly on times when you have 3 seconds on the ball as opposed to having a second on the ball,
Yeah,
suddenly आप एक बड़े अनफेमिलियर टेरिटरी में आ गए हो, बहुत ही
yeah,
अनफेमिलियर टेरिटरी में. और वो कल दिखा है with the way they were losing the ball because they were not even being able to reach their halfway line. The amount of
तो ये
errors
बात
that were making, turnovers
काफी
that were
बार,
happening.
अगर आप, if you look at the games that happened in those three tournaments that India won, right? If you look at the spread in
Hmm,
on the pitch, right?
hmm,
How lengthwise the game was being played, and if you compare it to how, let's say, any serious tournament games are played,
hmm.
right? Maybe there's a 20-meter, 30-meter gap at some point. There are some points in which the game is being played like all 11 players are like this at a World Cup or an Asian Cup or a Euros, right? So this intensity we will only learn, like our
Of course we
players will only
learn, of course.
by experience. Yeah.
But
So
my
of course
point is that भाई कि
we have
आप
always
मैं
said that
sorry.
this is a challenge, right? We have always said that this is a challenge. जब ऑस्ट्रेलिया आपके सामने आएगी, गोइंग लाइक बूम 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 बूम, तब आप क्या
But
करेंगे?
that's my point ना भाई. Australia, Qatar don't go boom 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 boom. That kind of
No, no,
press. They
भाई
don't go
Qatar
boom
did
boom 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 boom.
that game, in that situation, in that qualifying situation where they are already qualified. They have
Exactly, वो
nothing.
आपके खिलाफ नहीं, बट आपके खिलाफ करेंगे नहीं. मैं तो ये कह रहा हूँ कि
क्यों नहीं
एक
रही है?
टीम.
कह रहा हूँ अगर टूर्नामेंट सिचुएशन में कतर हो या कोई भी हो, they will want to win the ball as high up and they will
या
want to score as much as
बट
possible.
भाई, द पॉइंट आई एम ट्राइंग टू ब्रिंग आउट इज कि कतर करे तो मैं समझता हूँ. देयर इज अ मैसिव डिफरेंस between Qatar and India. There is a massive difference between
And
Australia and India.
India, but so that this is a part that we are not under. You see the crowd, if you see the kind of
Hmm.
passion and money and all those things that are going into it, can you fill a 90,000 seater stadium in
अरे
India?
सर, सर वो छोड़ो ना, आप कहाँ जा रहे हो? मैं तो टेक्निकल
नहीं,
उस पे बात कर रहा हूँ, टैक्टिकल पे बात कर रहा
मैं
हूँ. वो
भाई
सब बात की
टेक्निकल,
बातें होती हैं. ये
right? It doesn't come from anywhere else. So when you have this kind of like the Malaysian league and what they are doing and what we are doing, there are differences, no doubt, right? Why did we celebrate 20 years ago in 2000 when we went to yeah,
No,
what was
भाई भाई
go
see,
on.
I'm just saying कि आपका I am not trying to go too far ahead कि suddenly the team has become bad और ये हो गया आचा पाचा. I am just bringing to light कि जब आप पे किसी ने प्रेस किया है with this velocity and whatever this sort of a cohesion
Intensity, yeah,
इंटेंसिटी से आपके
yeah.
ऊपर किसी ने प्रेस किया एंड चाहे वो आपसे कमजोर टीम है, मेरी आंखों में आपसे वो कमजोर टीम है. लेट्स फॉरगेट क्या लीग है वो सब छोड़ दो आप. मैं कह रहा हूँ ऑन दैट नाइट भूल जाओ 90,000 जो वो आचा पाचा. उस टीम ने आपको रैटल किया है बहुत बुरी तरह. हाँ आपके टीम के कुछ कुछ प्लेयर नहीं थे, ठीक है, समझ गया मैं आपकी बात, पर उस टीम ने आपको रैटल किया है. आई एम जस्ट सेइंग ये एक नया पैंतड़ा देखने को मिला है जो पिछले
भाई
3-4 महीने में नहीं देखने को मिला था. हमें लग रहा था कि देखो जी
बट
कितना पोजेशन रख रहे हैं, कितना विंग से निकल रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं आचा
यार
पाचा.
हम बांग्लादेश वाला गेम के बारे में बात कर रहे थे, कौन सा बांग्लादेश गेम था वो, which we ended up drawing 1-1.
कैलकाटा,
uh,
कैलकाटा.
yeah. So what did Bangladesh do then? The same thing,
But they didn't press
right?
भाई, they held
They,
back. No, hardly.
I'm pretty sure they pressed, and
No
that was the
भाई,
surprise moment in that game because there was
नहीं भाई.
something at stake. So we are not
See,
used to playing high stakes tournament football, and it was like so Malaysia in this instance, for example, right, had to win this game against India in order to play the final uh, on Sunday, I think, against
hmm,
Tajikistan because of the situation. The tournament has changed, right? There's also little bit of a backstory because all these things feed into it. भाई कितने intensity से खेलता है कोई, कोच क्या pep talk देता है, ये सब मतलब फीचर करता है planning में ना. Like I think जब when Palestine withdrew because of what's going on in Gaza and all of that, uh,
hmm,
there was a discussion between the team managements, right? And for reasons of squad management and according to the coach, this is not my thing. uh, India said कि हम मतलब compress नहीं कर सकते. We don't want to play two games in a shorter thing. We will stick to the schedule. ठीक है.
hmm,
So that also adds to it. Malaysian Federation is making a request. They are the host, etc., etc. हमने मना कर दिया. तो of course we have good reasons. चार हमारे starting player potentially injured हैं already. हमारे
hmm.
पास वैसे भी player pool इतना बड़ा नहीं है. तो हम मतलब थोड़ा लंबा सोच रहे हैं. But on the other side, as hosts, they are concerned about what's going to happen there. So
Hmm.
what I'm saying is the high press game is always going to bother us. And when these players are playing in different leagues, higher leagues, potentially, right? When we play Australia, when we play Uzbekistan, the tempo and the intensity will automatically be different, and they will not be looking to kind of take it easy and whatever. They'll be looking to also qualify as best as possible from their groups. So they will want to score the most goals, put the most amount of pressure on defenders to make mistakes, and if we decide to play out of the bat and we are uncertain of what we want to do,
Yeah, because the larger topic point is this only. See, what I was coming to, पता नहीं आप कहाँ चले गए, मैं वापस ला रहा हूँ कि ये जो हम पीछे से खेल रहे हैं over these last few months, maybe this is not the way we should be playing in this high competition game. If you are looking at the result, I
yeah,
feel. Because
yeah,
technically you are not there. उन्होंने आप पे एक एवरेज टीम ने प्रेस डाला है, आपको प्रेशर डाला है, आपसे बॉल रखी नहीं गई है. मैं तो ये कह
yeah,
रहा हूँ. So what is the plan B? Why are we believing in this fool's paradise जो कहते हैं कि हम उसमें घूम रहे हैं कि हम बॉल रखेंगे, बनाएंगे, आगे जाएंगे, चलो कुछ कुछ टाइम आप कर पाओगे, पर जब आपके ऊपर किसी ने प्रेस किया दोस्त तो आपके पास उसका उत्तर नहीं है.
नहीं कर
और जब
पाएंगे.
आपके पास उतना उत्तर नहीं है, आप तो गोल स्कोरिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी दे रहे हो वहां पे सीधा. आपने बॉल खोया, गोल स्कोरिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी, बॉल खोया, गोल स्कोरिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी, थर्ड गोल, बॉल खोया, उसने वापस बैक पास खेला, डिफेंडर को उसमें से ले लिया और वहां से उसने जी गोल मार के चले गए। तो माय पॉइंट इज कि क्या ये सही तरीका है, इज माय ओनली पॉइंट, कि जो हर बारी जो
नहीं,
आप पीछे से आप खेलने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, इट लुक्स गुड व्हेन नो वन इज प्रेसिंग यू, व्हेन देयर इज नो प्रेशर ऑन यू, इट लुक्स फाइन कि यू आर मूविंग द बॉल अराउंड, आराम से रिसीव कर रहा है, वो लड़का भी तो खेलने आया है। बट
yeah,
जब
yeah,
किसी ने आप पे चढ़ा, जोर से चढ़ा, तो फिर क्या? फिर एक पास खेल लिया, दो पास खेल लिया, लेकिन जहन में चल रहा होता है एटलीस्ट, मैं जब देख रहा था कि अब गई बॉल, अब गई बॉल, अब गई बॉल। टू बी फेयर टू इंडिया, दे few movements were good when they broke
yeah,
that
very,
press. Changte was looking very good. Changte was looking much faster, fitter than his counterpart who was marking him at the time.
yeah,
But a majority, if you look at it from the overall context of the game, so they could not handle that press. Which is why I
yeah,
feel that now in these last few months, maybe you need to plan a plan B. कि जब वो हम पे चढ़ेंगे तो क्या करेंगे, because सुनील अकेले घूम रहा था वहां पे, वो दरियागंज की सड़कों पे घूम रहा था अकेले, वहां पे कुछ नहीं कर पा रहा था वो, there was nothing that he could do at that time.
भाई
तो
तो
वही है.
yeah, yeah. And again, like, I'll again plug the same interview because this point, no, because the point has been brought up that like fans and journalists and all of us can to see the same kind of play that we've seen in the tri nations in Manipur or the SAF or whatever. That's a different. I mean, you have to build, I guess, the confidence in players at some point that they can do it at international level. But then there's a cutoff where you beyond which you cannot. So now the plan B comes in, and the coach was mentioning this that
Hmm.
now the perspective, the orientation, the goals, they are all different, right?
हाँ.
So, so some of these things that you saw, the goals that we did score, they were not scored off 30 pass moves, 15 pass
No,
moves,
you lost, boom, 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 goal.
uh, or somebody works hard in the box, wins it back,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
That kind of situation. So those are the things I think that like the surprise elements, the things that India can now because of these players bring into the picture. Also highlights how because I have had drastically different performances. If you look at Mahesh, obviously on one side, uh,
Hmm.
Ante on the other, and you look at the four guys at the back, right? Drastically different match ratings. We don't do that kind of nonsense, but if we did,
Hmm.
it would be quite different. So
Yeah, defenders didn't have the best of nights.
yeah, it wasn't. But so it's an experience for them to see what will happen if they don't. And जो भी हो मतलब हर लेवल पे फॉर इंडियन फुटबॉल लर्निंग ही है प्रोसेस ना हम जितना मर्जी हम बढ़ा लें चढ़ा लें जो भी कर लें सी वी हैव ग्राउंड्समैन इन इंडिया नाउ एट इन द टॉप टियर हु आर
Hmm.
क्या कहते हैं क्यूरेटिंग पिचेस to the same quality as the Premier League, right? So when you go to Malaysia and you're playing at the stadium where the pitch is soft, it's patchy, the bounce is uneven, you're suddenly even more. And sometimes you are reminded of the childhood pitches that you played on, and it comes more instinctively, and the game flows in patches. But the things that you plan to do movement wise and all, you cannot do, right?
Yeah, bhai,
Because
but my point is, if it's not working for you, what was your गेम के अंदर अगर कुछ चलता नहीं है तो आपके पास दूसरा प्लान क्या है? वो दूसरा प्लान दिखा नहीं। और मैं समझ रहा हूँ ये प्रैक्टिस गेम है, तो इफ इवेंचुअली द एंड गोल इज टू बी अ टीम दैट प्लेज आउट फ्रॉम द बैक, then you
yeah,
say no matter what the result, we keep on trying, we keep on trying, we keep on trying, put ourselves in these situations. Eventually the situation will make us a better player, and we'll be better, in a sense, set up to adapt to such situations. I get that, but I'm saying since you're so close and इतना अभी जितना देखा है, I feel you need to have another plan. You need to have another plan of getting these guys in.
so I I, I think that there's no one way. There has to be adaptability because you will play different teams in different situations, and your goals will be different. If you're playing
Yeah.
competitive international football, right? So today you're playing a friendly, tomorrow you're playing a World Cup qualifier, day after you're playing an Asian Cup actual game. All of those scenarios are different. Your opposition is different, and you tailor your kind of team, of course, your structure, your thought process, everything to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so the idea is to get these boys who are
Hmm.
now, and the other thing that the coach mentioned, and this is now on the record, that the doors to the national team are shut, right? These 35, 39, 40 boys are the ones who are going to be representing India at the Asian Cup. So
Makes
now,
sense.
and this is the only amount of time you have. So it makes sense to expose them to all kinds of, as many kinds of different scenarios and see who adapts in what way better, right?
Fair,
And
fair.
then and then see, because this result doesn't matter theoretically, it matters in the
Sure.
sense that we would have gotten another game to play if we had won. So that always helps. But
हम्म
you know, yeah.
ठीक है, ठीक है भाई, हमने बोला था कि 10 मिनट का शो करेंगे, एक ही मुद्दे पे
Hmm.
बात करेंगे, बट आधा घंटा तो हमने छू दिया है। ठीक है, तो ये जी छोटा छोटा है, बट in the comments also you tell us, man, if you think India should have a plan B, if you think there is a plan B, maybe we're wrong in how we're looking at it. So do join in the conversation, put it down in the comments, and do try spreading the show to as many people as you can on Twitter, on YouTube, to, आपके जो फुटबॉल के जो ग्रुप्स हैं उसमें भी भेजिए। हम लोग आ गए हैं वापस, और फुटबॉल की और बातें करेंगे। मैं डेट और टाइम नहीं बताने वाला कब आने वाले हैं, क्योंकि फिर ना वी फॉल फ्लैट ऑन आवर ओन फेस। बट चलो ठीक है। तो आई जस्ट थॉट दिस वाज अ प्रेसिंग इशू टू टॉक अबाउट। वन थिंग दैट रियली केम आउट was India's inability to handle the press versus Malaysia. Hopefully they get better, like Annie says, because you put yourself in that situation, so you can only come out better once you face that situation again, because you know what worked for you and what did not work for you. आज के लिए बस इतना ही। यानी भाई, थैंक यू एज ऑलवेज। फिर मिलेंगे, जब मिलेंगे पता नहीं, बट मिलेंगे जरूर। थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग। गुड बाय।